Hey everybody, we're back at it again. We're going to go over some PCSX2 additional settings that may help your time in Norath be a little bit more fun while we're playing EverQuest Online Adventures. So today we're going to go over how to set up a keyboard so that it works for in-game chat. We're going to go over how to change some of the keyboard bindings to make it a little bit less annoying right out the box. And then we're going to go over how to set up a Dualbox setup. Personally, I don't use dual boxing, but I know a lot of people do, and if that's something you're interested in, we'll go over how to set that up. And last, we're going to go over how to set up the cover art for the tiles in the PCSX2 game selection. Not a real big deal, but it just kind of makes the UI look a little bit more fun, a little bit more pretty. Alright, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it, and we're going to get started with keyboards. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to open up PCSX2, and we're going to go to Settings. Now we're going to go to the controller settings here. That will bring up your controller settings. To set up the keyboard, it's actually pretty simple. I'm assuming you already have a keyboard connected to your PC, or you're using a laptop that has one built in, but all you're going to do is go to USB port 1, not connected. We're going to change that to the human interface device keyboard. This one is a Konami keyboard. I believe that one came with Beatmania, but you know that it's basically just a keyboard. So we're going to set that up. And next we want to change a couple of the default hotkeys. I have noticed that some of the hotkeys, they're not intuitive out the box, and they could cause problems. Personally, it caused me to think that my game was freezing when I was actually hitting pause trying to bring up the text menu. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these over here and their corresponding actions. First thing I suggest doing is changing the ones that are just defaulted to a key on your keyboard and changing them to these keyboard Shift Plus. So if we click into it, it's going to let us push a button, and it gives us a timer here on how long we have to do it. If we don't meet the timer, it just goes back to default. So we're going to click into this, and we're going to hold Shift and hit space and then release. And now it is set to keyboard Shift plus space will toggle the pause. Now let's say that this one, for instance, we don't want any button to open the pause menu. What we have to do here is just right click, and it's going to clear that key binding. And then if you want it back, all you do is left click into it, and you just set it to whatever you want. In this case, we're just going to set the defaults to the shift versions. And that's just personally the way I like to do it. I don't mind leaving the F keys up there because I don't use them in EQOA. But you can do whatever you want. It's your game. Next, we're going to go over how to set up a Dualbox setup. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to need to make a new memory card. So let's go ahead and open up PCSX2, go to Settings, and then we're going to go to Memory Cards. Now when your memory card setup opens, we're going to create a new memory card, and I'm going to name this one Dualbox EQOA 2, and we know that this one is the second memory card. Let's go ahead and use this one for slot 1 for now, because we're going to need to set it up for EQOA. So we're going to boot up EQOA, and then we're going to run through the basic setup of putting the network settings on it and having it formatted and everything else. And if we need to make a new account, we'll make a new account. I'm going to go ahead and make a fresh account real quick just to have one for this example. So it's going to check the new memory card we just made. It's unformatted, so we're going to go ahead and format it. It's going to check it, and we shouldn't have any network settings. Oh, and it didn't have data either, so it's going to load the data. And then we're going to run through the network setup. Okay, so it's prepared, but we don't have a network configuration, so we need to go through the network setup. So it's going to boot the network setup. Same thing we did a while back. We're just going to run through all the default options. We don't need to make any changes here. And just for the sake of it looking different, we're going to set it to setting 2. And we're going to go ahead and save it. So it's going to save. And we can run a test just to make sure, like we did the last time around. Connection is being tested. And we are hitting the Sandstorm server. So let's go ahead and, with the network settings, and we're going to go ahead and make an account, and we're going to save those account credentials on the memory card. I'm going to be using an alternate email, and I'm going to use, it's just going to be a throwaway account that I'm not going to use, so I'm just going to use a fake password as well. While it's not a throwaway email account this time, it's one that I wasn't planning on using anyway for the game. Alright, so now we are in, it's initialized, and we're going to be hit with the welcome after all this, after we're checking the updates. And here's the welcome. May have said that a second too early. There we go. And now we're going to hit play. And, oh, we gotta make another account. Okay. I'm going to give it a new username. So let's call it Dual. I'm going to use all lowercase. Dual Test 1. We're going to have the password of. There we go. Give it some information, and we're going to use my alternate email account. And we're just going to go ahead and make a level 1 character, and we're going to make it a healer, and we're going to assign a heal to the hotbar, and then we're going to back out, and we're going to look at the rest of the process. Alright, so we're going to get in Sandstorm. Let's just make some Western humans. Actually, you know what? Let's make Eastern, because I know people better. People a little bit faster. So we're just going to do a basic cleric. And we're just going to give it a quick name here. So we're going to do DB for Dualbox. And that's all we need to do for now. We can close out the game. Okay, so now we have two accounts, each set up on a different memory card. What we're going to do now is boot PCSX up again. Now that we have PCSX up again, what we're going to do is we're going to bring it out of full screen first, and we're going to open a second copy. There we go. Now we have two copies. If you want to kind of put them side by side, I just hold the Windows key, and on the key directional keys, you can just kind of auto set them, and they each take up half the page. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this one here, let's go ahead and go to settings, memory cards. We're going to make sure that this one is set to memory card 1. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and boot this one up. This one, we're going to go in and we're going to open up memory cards, and we're going to make sure that this one is set to memory card number 2. Great. And we'll boot this one up. So right now, these should both be set to my single controller. In a little bit, we're going to see how we can change them over to each have their own controller, or one have keyboard and controller, or both on the same controller. But we're going to get to that, don't worry. I'm going to go ahead and pause the background music just because the game music is loud enough. But okay, like I said, right now, they are both set to my single controller. So if I press the right arrow on the D-pad, I should go to accept on both. Great. So let's go ahead and accept. Since the login process is the same and we've already set up both memory cards and they each have their own account, we should be able to go through this whole process at the same time. All right, so now we're going to connect to both. Let's wait for them both to connect and catch up. There we go. And we're moving right along. And now we're going to go to play. And now we have our two accounts, right? We're going to log into both accounts. And so whenever we get into the character selector, just a reminder, since I'm using the same controller off the bat, we have to pick the same characters, right? So we're going to pick the first characters. It should be the cleric that we made, and I believe my warrior, which is fine. We're just doing this as an example, and then we'll get into how to switch the controllers around. Okay. And now we're loading in to the character selector. Apologize in advance. The intro music is a little bit loud here, but I turned it down, so it shouldn't be that bad. See, now, like I said, if we go down, we have the problem of them both being on the same keyboard or controller. So let's just go ahead and jump in with our first characters. And then once we're in, we will go ahead and switch up the controllers so that our characters can meet and we can play with some of the settings. But we're also going to see what happens whenever we're in the game and we're using a single controller, right? So we need to hit X to get past all the speeches. Now if we move on one, it's going to move on the other. Same thing with our spells and abilities, same thing with this, right? So if we set that, if we target ourselves, we could cast spells, we could do whatever, but we're using the same character. All right, so we don't want this to happen, right? We want to be able to independently run this character from this character. If that's the case, what we're going to do is switch the controllers. Now, if you have two controllers, that's probably ideal. I do have two PS5 controllers, but I use one for my actual PS5, and right now it's in the living room and it's being used to keep the cartoons going for my dogs. So I'm not going to be doing two controllers. I'm just going to use a keyboard temporarily. So we're going to go to Settings, and we're going to go to Controllers on the second one. We're going to go here, and you would set up, your new controller here. You would just go to the DualShock, and you would map it to the second controller if you had one. I'm going to map it to the keyboard. And just for the sake of, I don't want this guy to talk anyway, we're going to disconnect the keyboard there so we don't open up chat on him by accident. And then we're going to close. Now, my controller only works for the first one, right? But my keyboard works for the second one. Great. Alright, so now we want our characters to meet up, right? So we're going to take our warrior here, our level 5 warrior, and we're going to go near the coachman. So when you're playing Dualbox, if you're playing them independently, you have more control over each character, right? The benefit to using the same controller on both is you can set up combos of spells and abilities to run at the same time, so you don't have to use two controllers. You can just use one, and certain abilities will heal you, certain abilities will cast other spells. We'll kind of see what happens there in a minute. So let's run out there on our healer, right? We're going to go back to the coachman, and we're going to meet up with our warrior. All right. I know a lot of people like dual boxing. Again, personally, it's not my thing, but it is a useful tool if you have a hard time finding groups, or if you just want to solo, or if you want to level multiple characters on multiple accounts at once. Whatever your reason is, you don't need to explain it to me, but Alright, so now we have both of our characters near each other. Now, if I was going to be dual boxing, what I would want to do is set it up to run on one controller, right? So in this example, what we're going to do is every time my warrior uses quick strike, it's going to cause my cleric to heal. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back on our Cleric's account. We're going to go to Settings, and we're going to go to Controllers, and we're going to set the mapping back to the DualSense controller, and now they should both run at the same time, right? So on our Cleric, we're going to select our character, our main character, and we're going to set up auto run. Now, honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head where the auto follow is, so bear with me just a second. Okay, there we go. So we need to invite him to a group. You can't do it like that. You have to have one character do it. So let's just go ahead and do that. And now on the Cleric, let's set the controller back to keyboard. And on our Warrior, let's invite him. And on our Cleric, and all I'm going to do is switch back to the DualSense controller and accept the group invitation. Okay, now we're in a group. Sorry about that, everybody. Alright, so now we're going to target each other, and we're going to go to... I literally was just looking at it. Auto follow. There we go. Alright. You can set auto follow, but if you're running it, it should just work, right? So you do have to have your character selected, right? So I want this blank. I decided to change it. So instead of the quick strike, we're going to leave this empty so he doesn't actually do an ability. He doesn't lose any power. Oh no, something's happening. Well, that was weird. But let's say that we want to heal our warrior. We select him, and with the warrior having the blank item icon and the cleric having the minor heal, we're going to cast a spell. Now we're going to heal our warrior. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to heal our warrior. That was my mistake. Again, this isn't how I play, but this can be done. And let's say we want to attack this thing. Uh-oh. But we can do that. So they may get a little bit apart, and you can fix that easily by switching it back to your keyboard or your second controller, or however you want to do it. So, you know, maybe having two controllers is a better way to do it. However you end up doing it, you can fine-tune it however you want, but this is how you set up the dual boxing. Alright, next we are going to go ahead and go into box art. And finally, we're going to go over how to set up cover art on your PCSX2. By default, you're going to have your games in list view, so what we want to do is change it to grid view by going up here and clicking the grid view icon. Next, we want to go to Tools and then Cover Downloader, and you're going to be met with this. In the description of this video, you're going to find a hyperlink, and all we're going to do is copy that, and we're going to place it here. This is a set of covers that a person compiled on GitHub. So thank you to the person who built this, which would be Xlenor. What we're going to do is click use tile name frames, and then you're going to hit start. And now we have the box art. And we can close it, and this will stay. Now, if you add more games later, you do need to run through this process again to update the cover art for the rest of the games that you add later on. But this will just make it a little bit more pretty. Well, I hope this helped, and if you have any suggestions on things we can do to make PCSX and the EQOA experience better, go ahead and leave me a comment in the description, and if I get enough of them, to make a video, we'll do a part 3 with more tips and tricks for PCSX2, specifically to make your EQOA experience better. Thanks everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your day.